Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated, and I have a very fun episode planned for you today, man. This episode, contrary to maybe the title and the thumbnail, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with, and not because I'm gonna be negative here. Surprise, surprise. If you've already seen the thumbnail, then you know exactly what direction I'm headed into. But really quickly, before I dive into this content and this information, do me a huge favor and like this video. Liking the video helps us cruise along algorithm avenue, helps us get into the presence of individuals much like yourself who are interested in seeing this kind of content. And also subscribe to the channel. Clicking that notification bell, obviously, after the subscription helps you to be notified as to when my newest episodes are uploaded. And this one right here is on the heels of Saturday night's game versus the LA Lakers and Denver Nuggets. And it was a phenomenal game, one heavily anticipated by a lot of folks, man. So I'm going to entitle today's episode, "The LA Lucas Are Title Contenders?" And so I could not wait until Monday, like I was saying before introducing the title. It was a heavily anticipated game. Obviously, a lot of folks wanted to tune in who are fans because they kind of want to see what the new look Lakers look like, knowing that Luka had played a couple games and had taken the prior game off, as a matter of fact, to rest up for Saturday's game. Some wanted to take a look at the game because they wanted to see Denver beat the shit out of the Lakers, as they have customarily done over the last couple years. Some, like myself, just watched the game just because I love basketball. So whatever the end result would be, I was certain it would give us some content to talk about. But the Lakers beat the dog shit out of the Denver Nuggets, and they had lost 9 previous matchups against the Denver Nuggets dating back a couple years, including through the playoffs. And Denver was pretty much having their way with the Lakers, for a multitude of reasons. One, namely because of, just matchups and the Lakers not being able to match up, with the team, and Jokic being a handful. Jamal Murray just is kind of killing them, and the other pieces as well. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, etc., just being a thorn in their sides. Just not just in the playoffs, but also in the regular season. So again, I knew that come Monday, you know what I mean, the Glaze Parade for the Lakers was going to ensue, and certainly it did. And so in this episode, I want to get into some an audio clip, just some commentary shared on ESPN's First Take, by Shannon Sharp, mostly. Stephen A. chimed in, so did former NBA player Tim Legler chimed in as well. But mostly it was Shannon's commentary and then some of the other commentary that I kind of want to get into. And I just have a message overall in this video for Laker fans as we dig into it. And the message is going to be very simple. I won't give it away before we can get into the content. So, first of all, it's in speaking to the actual game that took place on Saturday night, and Denver versus the Lakers. Denver would fall to the Lakers 123-100. When I said they beat the dog shit out of Denver, I mean they beat the dog shit out of Denver. It was impressive to watch from a defensive standpoint, because the Lakers have been playing this really active, swarming defense since, from what I saw, and I'm not going to claim to watch every single Laker game, but I recognize this in the game versus the Knicks a few hours prior to the announcement that AD and Luka had been swapped for one another. And I commented on that, like, man, their defense looked really good. Obviously, LeBron spoke on the defense afterwards and how, they needed to come together and continue to play as a unit on the defensive end, the helping, the sliding, the calling things out, you know what I mean, the extreme communication, etc., that happens when you're on the basketball court, if you've ever played basketball in a defensive centric, kind of a system or style. And so, that was on display, full display, tonight, or rather in Saturday night's game. And so Luka scored 32 points in that game. He had struggled I think averaging like 14.8 points per game in the two prior games in LA. But he scored 32 points, had his coming out party, played like Luka Doncic is expected to play. 32 points, 10 rebounds. He grabbed 7 assists, 4 steals as well. So Luka was out there playing D. Luka was out there playing D. And I love it. Luka's not a great defender. I'll say that, like, before we get into the additional content. Luka's not known as a great defender. It doesn't mean that he cannot play defense. It doesn't mean that he can't do great things on the defensive end, but he's just not known as like a lockdown defender, or he's not known as a presence on the defensive end for the most part. But playing in a system defensively, he can play his role and slide. So if they, meaning the coaches, will put in a system that benefits how he plays and his being slow of foot, then it could definitely benefit, Luka in that regard. But LeBron had 25 points in that game, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals as well. Austin Reeves chipped in 23 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds. Rui Hachimura, 21 points and 4 assists. LA improved with that win to 34 and 21. This, a tweet from Dave McMenamin shared in this graphic. So it was a very impressive game, as I said. I was impressed with kind of, what they did, how they did it, doubling down on Jokic. They were throwing double and throwing an extra man at Jokic, touching him up a bit, which rattled Jokic to a degree, because I think he's just used to kind of picking his spots wherever he wants to go on the court, you know what I mean, in the offensive systems that they're running, knowing that if I just get here, I can then turn and find a cutter, or you know what I mean, like get into this dribble handoff or pick and roll, or turn and shoot or do whatever I want to do. But the Lakers were being disruptors defensively. So kudos to the Lakers in that regard. It was impressive to watch, as I said. I want to get into a bit of audio from ESPN's First Take. And in diving into this audio, I want to make sure that you guys are clear that I'm going to stop occasionally here. It's about 9 minutes of audio. I'm not going to play the whole 9 minutes. I'm going to dive in occasionally. So I'll pause and I'll give some commentary, because it's going to be important to do so for context sakes. Because the Laker fans have been, as my man Charles would say from Dreamers Pro, boy, they've been buying up all the honey, slathering honey all over themselves. They're going crazy. You know what I mean? Like I said, the Glaze Parade is crazy. And it's not that you guys should not be excited about, your team. So I'm not gonna try to take away from you excitement. That's not the purpose of this episode. But I do want to say, you guys are very unrealistic sometimes, and it's just to watch kind of what happens. There are 82 games in a basketball season. I think that every fan base can take one game and be like, oh, look at this one. Look what we did. Like, we're about to be. And that's not realistic. You know what I mean? So I just kind of want to bring you guys down into some space of realism. But I also want to say that it's rare that I agree with most of the positions of Shannon Sharpe, or some of the things that he says. Even I don't think anybody can be, I can't say that I disagree with 100% of everything that everybody says, just like I don't have agreement with every single, piece of information that's being shared, but from a person. But it's rare that I agree with Shannon. So where I have agreement and where I agree, I'll say that. Where I don't, I'm going to say that too. But let's get into what Shannon Sharpe had to say and the panel on First Take, and I'll jump in where necessary.
If you're Lakers, what's the deal, right? Came into Saturday, having lost 13 of their previous 14 contests to Denver. LA finally eliminated the team that knocked them out of the playoffs the last 2 seasons, 123-100, snapping the Nuggets' 9-game win streak. LeBron put up 25, Luka 32. Here's the newest member of the Lake Show with high expectations.
Our goal is to win championship. That's our only goal. And I think we have the team for that. Obviously the chemistry with me and the guys, is going to take a little time still. But, like you saw today, I think it's getting better and better.
Before anybody else says anything, play the sound clip to be clear, man. That was the voice of Luka Doncic saying our goal is to win championships. Our goal is to win championships. Keep that in mind.
Shannon Sharpe. What do you think? You agree with Luka that this team could actually win it all?
Well, when you When has a team that LeBron James been on hadn't been expected legs and Stephen A to win a championship? And now you can combine him with a top 5 player who happens to be the age of 25, very motivated because he's disappointed that a team traded him and came out with all these reasons why they traded him. Yes, that is the expectations. Whether or not they can do it, I would like to see them have gotten a better big. But when you have these two, I feel that with these two guys right here playing the way they played, and you got the contributions that you got from Rui and AR, yes, why? Absolutely. Why not? I'm very high on this team. Shows you what they are capable of doing, because over the last 8-9 games, they could not do anything with Nikola Jokic. They could not do anything with the Denver Nuggets. Now, Nikola had an off night, even though he had a triple-double. Jamal Murray cooled down. But I am very bullish on the Lakers. I think they have an opportunity, especially in the West. Look, we understand what OKC is, but are they battle tested enough? Have they gone through the trials and tribulations enough? I know with Luka and LeBron having gone through the turmoil of a long, long NBA season and the rigors of a playoff, there's no question in my mind this team is battle tested, and they have what it takes to get to the championship. Now, whether or not they can beat Boston on the other side of Cleveland is another story, but I do believe they can come out of the West.
All right, I'm going to pause right there off top. So Shannon says so much, man. First of all, I would have liked to have seen them get a better big. So their issue with, having a big man presence hasn't been eliminated. Remember, the Mark Williams for Dalton Connect trade was rescinded. I just want to keep it real in this episode. I'm not dragging the Lakers. I'm not here to talk negative about you guys. I just want to make sure, again, that we pop that bubble a little bit and bring you guys back into a space of being real. Keep it real. You understand what I'm saying? That was a great game that was played there in Denver. But to hang these super high hopes and high expectations on the team now is craziness. It's crazy because Shannon's like, whoa, I understand, that we know who OKC was. We understand what they are, but have they been battle tested enough? Well, this team ain't been battle tested at all. This is a very new team, new look Lakers team. They haven't had any games to play together, really, to have even a firm sample size to, even understand what it is that they actually look like. We understand that on paper, in comparison to the other teams in the league on paper, their roster still needs a lot of work, bro. That roster just needs a lot of work. When you put that team on the court, size-wise, they are just a very small team in comparison to the other teams in the league, in the Western Conference. They're a much smaller team. Can the help defense, like it did on Saturday night, be played that benefits your team? In some instances, sure it can, bro. But we're talking about 7-game series through the playoffs here and into the championship. Come on, bro. Let's just keep it real here. So sure, the Lakers never addressed that big man issue, and the buyout market ain't where that's going to be remedied. That's going to have to happen in the offseason. Are LeBron and Luka incredible? Sure they are. Do they give you as a fan a lot to be excited about? Sure they do. But a championship, my guy, a championship, ladies and gentlemen, Laker, fans, seriously, bro, a whole championship.
Listen, what they did on Saturday night was make everybody stand up now and take notice. You got to pay attention to this team a lot closer. It wasn't at any point that I think, Shannon, that Luka and LeBron aren't going to be able to figure it out. I was like, that's ridiculous because of the talent level and the IQ. They're going to figure that part out. What I did not know was that the Los Angeles Lakers could play this level of defense that they're playing right now. And there's a lot of things go into defense. It's personnel, it's scheme, and then it's effort. It's really those three things. So the scheme part of it is where J.J. Redick comes into this, and what they are doing in the attention to detail with the personnel that they have. And look, there's going to be times they're going to have to protect Luka. You're going to have to do that, and they already did it in his first few games. It didn't really come into play Saturday night because they were so good offensively too, and he was so good, we didn't care as much about the defense. That is something they're going to have to do going forward, and I think J.J. Redick might be the right guy to develop game plans to protect him on that end. But the bottom line is, man, they swarmed Jokic. They had a commitment to it. They've got some big wings like Hatchimer and Dorian Finney-Smith and Vanderbilt. Those guys can take on bigger players. They showed you what they're capable of. So the question comes down to Luka, LeBron, and what does that look like at its best? And you got a taste of it the other night. And here's the thing that's going to matter. Luka has to be on the ball more than LeBron because the other guy has to be willing to do one of two things or both, run or cut. Luka doesn't run and he doesn't cut. That means the ball has to be in his hands more because LeBron represents just the threat of a weak side slash, makes you defend him differently on the weak side. The ability to run the floor and throw it ahead, as you saw on Saturday night. Like, Luka's not going to do those things. He is a maestro with the basketball in dissecting your defense. I think that they've worked that out now. It's going to be primarily Luka on the ball when they're on the court together, and I think that's the best way to operate.
Let me say,
before Stephen A. goes in, a bunch of things go into defense, but namely, as Tim Legler laid out, scheme, personnel, and effort, bro. Effort. I can think back to, rest in peace, to one of my former high school coaches, Doc Robinson. Man, Doc would always talk to us about effort and the things that really help to put us over the top are effort. And he would classically talk to us about rebounding and defensive effort. And he would he would basically sum them up, rather, with saying it's all about desire. It's all about desire. You have to have a desire to rebound. You have to have a desire to get on the floor for the loose balls. You have to have a desire to slide those feet and stay in front of your man and to take on that defensive assignment. You have to have desire. There has to be a burning desire inside of you to say, I'm going to do this thing, and then you got to go out and do it. So that's the effort part that Tim Legler, has mentioned, right? And so, again, kudos to the Lakers, who have taken this personnel. They've gotten Jared Vanderbilt back, who's been hurt for a few seasons now. He's been MIA since, signing a Laker contract, essentially. But to have him back and the additional Dorian Finney-Smith has given them a defensive edge that they did not have before on the wings. Sure, they had AD anchor in the middle playing defense and being a defensive player of the year caliber player, but they didn't have the rest of the pieces. Rui has stepped it up some now, playing a little bit better defense as well. And so, you know what I mean? Like, that has shown itself in how the Lakers have been playing defense. So again, not to take anything away from them. The Lakers they have shown themselves to play some great defense in recent games. And that is to be celebrated. That speaks to JJ Redick putting in those schemes that Tim is talking about that benefit the personnel. Look at the personnel that you have and develop schemes and drop some schemes that fit those guys. And that obviously, we got a chance to see on display. So I just wanted to kind of jump in and say that.
It's to Shannon Sharp before I give my take on all of this. Shannon Sharp threw in that little sound there where he talked about, where has LeBron James not expected to win the championship? Well, last year and the year before that and the year before that. Since they won the championship,
he didn't win it.
The last 3 years, the Lakers were not expected to win no damn championship. I'm just answering that question. That one question right there. He was not, Denver 2 years ago when they swept them, they wasn't expected to beat Denver. Denver last year when they met them in the first round, they wasn't expected. And then the year before that, when they had Frank Vogel there, oh no, they were not expected to do that. That's not true. They were not expected. So I'm just answering that question. You know better. You know better, Barbara Walters. You know better. I can't front. The Lakers looked marvelous. Billy Crystal, you look marvelous. They were great. I was like, well, damn. Okay, but let me tell you something. It was special to watch. And when you see Hachimura, Austin Reeves elevates to that third option. A brother can ball, give love where love is due. You're looking at Hachimura. You were looking at the way he played Dorian Finney-Smith. You're looking at some of the size. No, you don't have bigs to go against the Jokic's of the world. But LeBron is 6'9", 250. You look at all of these other cats, they legit 6'8", 6'7", and they can put a body in. They can front you. They can help deny you the ball. They can suffocate you. They can force you to give it up. And they still got the speed to get out on perimeter shooters, which means you got to really, really be able to shoot if you're going to go against the Los Angeles Lakers. JJ Redick, let me say this to America. The brother's a candidate for Coach of the Year. He's doing an outstanding job. Now, they're elite offensively, particularly with this 18-game stretch. 11 of those games, I believe, was without Anthony Davis. Offensively, they top 2 in the league in terms of 50% efficiency and all this. These brothers got a chance. They got a chance to legitimately win the West when you consider the youth in OKC, The injuries in Dallas. All right, Denver, we saw how they looked the other night, and even Jokic admitted they were going against inferior competition, and they might have got ahead of themselves. We still don't know about the Clippers. We don't know what the hell has happened to the Phoenix Suns. And then Golden State, that's another story we'll get into a little bit later on in the show. I'm very impressed. The Los Angeles Lakers are a team to watch.
Yes. The Los Angeles Lakers are a team to watch again, finally, right? Because of the excitement of Luka Doncic being there. But this season will end with a similar result. And that's not being negative. I'm just looking at the actual roster as constructed. I think they had a better chance of making some noise and potentially having some things fall their way in the playoffs with an AD than they do with Luka. And Luka provides similar impact in terms of his ability to score the basketball as Anthony Davis did. Nobody would deny that. Luka's a really good rebounding guard, so he has the ability to affect the glass much like AD did. Although AD was a better rebounder, Luka's a much better facilitator of the basketball. And because he plays on the perimeter or around the perimeter and can hit the long ball with more efficiency and will actually jack up more, he'll draw the defense out to take. You have to respect Luka and pay attention to him when he has the ball in his hands. You know what I mean? So that sucks the defense to him, making it more possible for him to find an open man and to distribute the ball. So as long as the ball is being swung, you know what I mean? Like, you're in a good space with a Luka Doncic on your team, right? But again, they still take the hit on the interior because of the lack of size. That hasn't been remedied. You know what I mean? So the Lakers are a fun team to take a look at because we get a chance to see, quite frankly, one of the best young players in the league and the oldest, former best player in the league, and LeBron James playing on the same team. But that's about it. You know what I mean? Like, realistically, even as the standings and as the other teams are constructed from a standpoint of parity, if we actually just take a look at them, it's the same thing. If you guys had added Mark Williams, I might be having a different, I would definitely have to adjust my tone to a degree, right? And that's not to say that Mark Williams would have had to step in and be a 15-10 guy or a 20-10 guy, but it just would have given you guys more of a presence on the inside. Jackson Hayes is not enough by himself. Clearly, Alex Lim, when they said we put him in a tough spot, threw him in the game, and it was quickly understood as to why he was on the buyout market. I don't think the brothers played again since. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, but I'll get back into the audio.
Let's all be clear. OKC is still the team, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All of us are clear.
As long as we agree on that.
Well, you and I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know about Shay.
Yeah, they were the team last year. And then what happened? Luke and Kyrie drug them out to deep water. Because when you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, are we still sure about the Memphis Grizzlies? Are we still sure about the Houston Rockets? I don't think the Lakers inferior those teams. I don't think anybody in the West, maybe with the exception of OKC. But when you look at those other 2 through 5, are you telling me the Lakers couldn't beat the Grizzlies? They couldn't beat the Rockets? The Timberwolves, any of those teams that's up there on the board? Absolutely they could, because you got 2 of the top players in the league, let alone the Western Conference. So I like that.
Look, and you saw by the standings that we put up and what now we're looking at in the West. Because for me, pretty much the entire year, it was OKC and everybody else. And then Denver started to really get their act together over the last several weeks. And it was like, okay, I think Denver now has probably separated themselves even from Memphis and Houston. We didn't know about some of these other teams that were still trying to figure things out. You have no choice. You got to throw the Lakers into that mixer now.
But if you think about the Lakers and Stephen A., can you name 5 players that come postseason that's been more clutch, more big game than Luka Doncic? If you look at that second, he has averaged the second most points in playoff history behind MJ. We know what MJ represents. But we've seen Luka from the day he stepped into the NBA, when he gave the Clippers, when the Clippers were at their absolute best, he gave them everything they wanted and more. When they had all those outstanding defenders, Pat Bev and Paul George and Kawhi, Luka was dropping 40-point triple-doubles. He was averaging 40.
Hold it.
Go ahead.
You're right, but that was the bubble where you had the Clippers that didn't really want to be there to begin with and was looking for an excuse to get the hell out of Orlando. To me, the better one was him Game 7 at Phoenix.
Yeah.
When they blew him out the building. That to me was the real one.
Dude's got the second highest career
But here's
playoff
the thing,
scoring
Stephen A.
average in
Those
history.
points
That's
didn't
all
all
you
come
need
in the
to
bubble
know.
now.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
All those big game heroics that he had just didn't come in the bubble. He's been Luka since he stepped foot in the NBA.
Yeah.
And in the postseason, now the Boston Celtics notwithstanding last year,
Right.
he's a dangerous man come postseason. He's even more dangerous in the postseason than the regular season, if you can believe that.
That is true. And so that I agree with Shannon. That I agree. And Luka's dangerous in the postseason. He's made a lot of noise in the postseason, but conversely in the postseason also when you can point to, and that's anybody's career, but when you can point to the instances where he's been reduced to being less effective, it only points to the most important thing I feel like to look at, and that being adjustments. When a coach has to face you in a series, game after game after game after game, it becomes easier to scheme and how to stop this player and how to shut down this offense that they're running and how to make them least or less effective. And so that is the issue that has plagued Luka Doncic. I'm not saying that that's solely the reason that they are not contenders this season. I'm just saying that to respond to what Shannon was saying. But Luka man, his track record speaks for itself. He's got the second highest career field goal, or rather points per game average in NBA history behind Michael Jordan. This dude is a bucket. He's incredible, Luka Doncic is. That also brings me to a point as I talk about that really quickly before I address agreement with Shannon's opining that, man, the Lakers could possibly, you saying they couldn't beat Memphis? You saying they couldn't beat Minnesota? You saying they couldn't beat Houston? Like, wow, I don't disagree. They could possibly beat any of those teams in the playoffs because anybody can be beat in the playoffs when it goes back to the schemes that I was just talking about and coaches scheming things and, man, get a couple breaks here and there, tweaked ankle, you know what I mean? Person lays an egg from the opposing team, and, man, anybody can be beat, right? We watched the number 8 Denver Nuggets back in the day. Number 8 seed defeat the number 1 seed Seattle Supersonics, if you've been watching basketball as long as I have. So anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. But I wanted to talk about how utterly ridiculous I feel like it was that the Dallas Mavericks went on this negative campaign about Luka after trading him. And they maybe this was a part of the deal you with the Lakers. To me, you know what I mean? It was like, yeah, okay, we're gonna make this trade, and now we need you guys to drum up, some negative PR as to why you guys didn't want him, and maybe that'll like kind of have people kind of chill out a little bit about, you know what I mean, like us getting him, so that all the attention will be focused on you. They being Dallas, the Dallas Mavericks, and their PR team, man, they were acting like Luka was a fucking lemon. They were acting like Luka was a bust. They were acting like Luka was a number 1 overall draft pick that turned out to be an Andrew Wiggins. And it's weird. It's like, bro, all this negativity about what this dude is, about his health, about his conditioning, about, you know what I mean? Like nothing. That's all it literally was about. And Luka naturally came back, or rather came to LA, played, and coming back into form to play. It's going to take a couple games. He hasn't played in a couple months. It's going to take some time to get up to a rhythm. And if you guys have ever played basketball, you understand the longer you go without doing it, the more difficult it is to get up to speed. You have to play yourself into playing shape. Being in physical shape is nothing to actual playing shape. You can look like you're in incredible physical shape, or you can look like you're not in good physical shape at all. But playing shape is totally different. You know what I mean? So, again, I don't disagree with, the idea of the Lakers potentially making some noise down the stretch run here of the regular season. But I want to keep this content on topic, right? And so what we were discussing is championship contention. And so, in Luka's own words, a quote directly from Luka, according to sports or SpectrumSports.net, our goal is to win a championship. That's our only goal. And I think we have the team for that. And I think we have the team for that. And I think we have the team for that. Why are we trying to go out and get Mark Williams if you think you have a championship team already? It doesn't make sense. Just saying, it doesn't make sense. Obviously, the chemistry with me and the guys is going to take a little time still, but like you saw today, I think it's getting better and better. And I don't disagree with that latter part of Luka's statement. It's the same statement that he made on the audio that I played earlier. But I wanted to highlight that because, again, it's the contradiction for me that like this roster is enough and the roster is not enough. And there's no way to remedy the roster during this season right here. And so I just want to set expectations properly. I'm going to talk about the Lakers and I'm going to talk about the rest of the league regardless because I love basketball and I have this channel to talk about basketball. So I'm going to do it anyway, not because I hate them and not because I'm hating on them, but just because fuck else what I create a sports channel to talk about. But I do want to get into the standings that were spoken of, and I took this graphic from First Take because it's just more digestible visually than going to ESPN and kind of screenshotting their standings for the Western Conference. The Oklahoma City Thunder, as it was stated by Stephen A. Smith that the Lakers could possibly win the West. Now, I'm thinking he definitely meant being able to come out of the West, like emerging from the Western Conference to represent the Western Conference in the finals. Because I know that he did not mean catch the Oklahoma City Thunder for the best record in the West this season, because that's not going to happen. I mean, barring a disastrous Shea Alexander out for the season kind of a thing, and then the team just goes on a crazy, losing streak, God forbid, on knock on wood. As I've said that out loud, because I definitely don't want it to happen for Shea. Not wishing that on anybody, but there's no way. You know what I mean? Just in terms of the record, the Oklahoma City Thunder sit at number one in the West at this present moment, 46-10 record, followed by the Grizzlies, who have a 37-20 record at number two, and in the West, and the Nuggets are tied, same record. So basically, it's a tie for two by the Nuggets and the Memphis Grizzlies. The Nuggets have played very well in this last stretch of like 9-10 games for them. They were tested in a different kind of a way. Malone's a very, very good coach. I expect him to make the proper adjustments to assure that, at least with the personnel that he's stuck with as well, that they prevent that sort of thing from happening, or at least from being such an extreme hindrance as it was in the Laker game. But it remains to be seen, of course. The Lakers presently sit at 34-21 at number 4 in the West, with the Rockets just under them at 35-22. The Clippers sit at 31-25, just 3 games out of 4th place, essentially, where the Lakers presently sit. The Timberwolves are 31-27, as are the Mavericks. That is literally still the same, about 4.5 to 5 games out of 4th place in the West. The Warriors sit at 31-27, about 6 games out, or 5 games out of the 4th seed, where the Lakers presently sit. And then you have the Kings bringing up the rear at 528-28 in that 10th and final, play-in position. There is a lot more parity in the West than a lot of folks have given credit to, or I guess people would like to try and pretend that there is not. I don't think that there is any team in the West that is a bona fide. I mean, just like, man, I just expect this team to kill everybody outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder. What Ime Udoka is doing with the Houston Rockets, though, man, sleep on the young Houston Rockets if you want. Battle tested my ass. Those boys play basketball, and they're deep. They're deep, and they have weapons. They have weaponized all positions out there, from Şengün on up. They are a very deep basketball team, and they pull players in off the bench, man, who still get it done as well, playing within Ime's system. They are a tough out. They are not going to be anybody's doormat. You know what I mean? Like anybody's easy playoff series. Forget about it. Cut the jokes, bro. Seriously. If you watch basketball, you understand what I'm talking about. Like, Like, don't be ridiculous. Draymond Green jumped out the window during the broadcast of the All-Star weekend and said that even the Warriors are going to win a title this year. You cannot even summarily dismiss that notion from Draymond Green. I can't really say that they aren't. They got Jonathan Kuminga, who's still out injured, who hasn't come back yet to play, in addition to the new look Golden State Warriors without Andrew Wiggins and now with Jimmy Butler. So it is conceivable. I love Pajemski. You know what I mean? I like this core group. Obviously, you know what you're going to get from Steph. You know what you're going to get from Draymond, right? So, you know, who knows what can happen once these teams enter into a playoff series. It remains to be seen, but I think Jimmy Butler definitely adds. It makes it more interesting. It makes Golden State, you know, for certain, a team that nobody actually wants to see come playoff time. I don't think you really want to see him. He's a better scorer than, or more reliable scorer, I feel like, at all levels than Andrew Wiggins was. And he's definitely a better rebounder. He's definitely a better defender. Jimmy Butler being, you know, than Andrew Wiggins was. So I think he makes that team much tougher, man. He and Draymond combined definitely make that team much tougher, but they're small as well, as small as the Lakers. So I want to be fair in saying that. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say, well, you're going to say the Lakers are small and they're deficient at the big man position, like so Golden State, like they are. But if I'm going to give the Lakers credit for likewise, anything can happen, I have to do the same thing for everybody else in the West because there's a lot of parity there. If Anthony Davis can come back healthy, which remains to be seen with the nature of the injury that he has, who knows what Dallas will actually look like based on the 3 quarters that we saw. It's an incredibly minute sample size, but based on those 3 quarters of basketball that he played, man, AD was looking like AD, and that team is certainly tough on the interior to deal with if Gafford and Lively and AD are healthy. They are not going to be an easy team to just dispose of. You know what I mean? PJ Washington has come into his own and stepped in to fill in and to take on more of an offensive role with Luka Doncic being injured since Christmas there. So that's a feather in their cap. And Kyrie is just Kyrie. If they can if they can just get a smidge of Clay to be what maybe all that he can be. I won't even say what he used to be in Golden State, but just all that he can be presently today, which I would like to believe is a lot more than he's been given, which actually might become a little easier now that Luka's not being as ball dominant. I think that if we get a better version of Clay, man, that makes Dallas definitely a very dangerous team. I'm not high on the Minnesota Timberwolves, so I won't even pretend to be. I think that they're a much different team since getting rid of Cat, and you know that the offense is not as easy or it's not as fluid for them as it was when Cat was helping to spread the floor. You know, to be that pick and roll partner um, with Anthony Edwards, and you know, obviously, you know, being able to stretch the floor with his outside shooting, etc., which pull the bigger defenders out of the paint. You know what I mean, a little bit farther. So I just think that they're a different team. They look out of sorts to me. You know, even in the game last night against OKC, I did a live stream through that episode and just kind of share some of my thoughts about like in real time based on what I was seeing, and they just look out of sorts. They don't look like the same team. Nothing nearly close to what they looked like last year just as a juggernaut in the Western Conference, finishing at the number 2 seed. And this year they presently sit at number 7. It's not to say that they can't make a run down the stretch, but the Clippers, I just never I didn't even believe that the Clippers would be as good as they are right now. So I'll be honest in saying that in my preseason premature predictions, I didn't even have them making the play-in. You know, to be honest, because I knew that having gotten rid of Paul George rather than Kawhi Leonard just being, a late game scratch or a full scratch for a chunk of games or chunks of games at a time, it's just impossible for me. It was just impossible for me to predict. I did not see Norman Powell having the breakout season that he has had, and I certainly didn't see James Harden still playing at the level that he's playing. And so kudos to both Norman Powell and James Harden, man, for carrying Denver throughout, you know, the season so far. They sit at 31-25 so far. So again, there's just a lot of parity in this Western Conference. I lastly want to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. I am happy to see them settling into playing um, cohesively as a unit. You know what I mean? Like Ja, and most times kind of picks his spots. He came out in the Cleveland game last night, scored 8 points in the first quarter, and then just kind of faded to black. So but he was still distributing the ball. He was still, facilitating the offense and playing defense. I'm not saying that he wasn't, but I'm saying I appreciate that they play within the system that's developed to benefit their team. But you need Ja to be Ja. They need Ja to be Ja. Maybe Ja not overexerting himself or exerting himself more is to keep him healthy, because he doesn't or hasn't seemed to be able to click it off in his mind once he starts going crazy. You know what I mean? You just see him, just the way he sacrifices his body out there, reminiscent of a Derrick Rose or an Allen Iverson. Like those little guys, man, you take those crash into that pavement or to that court, you know what I mean, that hardwood, over and over and over again. It takes its toll after a while. And so maybe that style is kind of how they want him to play. I did not have them, even in my preseason predictions, which I mentioned, I didn't have the Grizzlies finishing as high, or being rather as high as they are right now in the standings. I thought they get somewhere around about 7, and that's not to say that they still can't slide down, through this final stretch of the regular season. But man, they are playing remarkably. I would like to see more out of Ja Morant before, because he's only averaging like 21 points a game or something like that this season. It's like he's not like a terrorist out there. But maybe this is to benefit them as far as the standards are concerned. It looks like it, but I just like to see more coming from Ja being as gifted offensively as he is. His ability to score, you know what I mean, like downhill. His ability, obviously, to shoot. He's improved his longer range jump shooting, dramatically since he walked into the league. But I would just like to see a little bit more offensive fervor coming from him before I hang my hat on, like, Memphis Grizzlies are dangerous and they could do this. They have the personnel for certain. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a monster. He's a monster. If he could stay out of fucking foul trouble, which he was in, last night. But as long as he and Ja are balling together, man, they are a formidable opponent. So that, having that presence of Jaren on the inside, going back to the Lakers being contenders, that presents an issue for the Lakers. When they send the doubles at him like they did for Jokic, maybe. But is that the way that you beat a team like that that's also a very perimeter oriented team, or they have the weapons that can knock down the perimeter shot? You know what I mean? Like, without having to rely on Ja just getting all the points. That's what they, I was just speaking to. They have other personnel that, quite frankly, step in and get it done. So, yeah, the Lakers have their work cut out for them. I do not see them being contenders. I wanted to say that. That's not me being negative. I'm not being a hater. I'm just basing this off of what I see. The wonderful thing about this video is that I get to go back and give myself a report card based on what I'm saying right now when the playoffs come. Because if I'm wrong, I get to come back and reference my own voice saying, damn, bro, I was wrong. But I don't think I'm wrong. I watch enough basketball and have watched enough basketball this season. Even if this was just my first time ever watching, maybe I wouldn't understand what I was looking at. But I've watched basketball for years, bro. And I've watched this team this year. And I'm watching this team this year. A different team than the team that started the season. Typically needs some time, as Lucas said, to build chemistry together, to gel well. They're doing some great things. But in an 82-game season, it takes time. They don't have 82 games. They have less than 30 left before the playoffs start. So good luck to the Lakers. Good luck to all the teams in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, man. I am excited to see what transpires. That has been the basis of this episode. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Like the video if you haven't done so already. Laker Nation, stand up, be proud, man. Get excited. I just want you guys to calm down some. You know what I mean? Like, you can be realistic about what you're saying. Is not to be like, oh, we're going to win. I can understand being hopeful, man. And I would never try to take any teams or any fans' exuberance from them. But I'm just like, calm down, man. This is what we hear all the time. Now, much like that other unrealistic, expectations that are set for that other franchise in Dallas, the Cowboys. I would say that Luka, my urging to him in closing would be careful. This is not Dallas. You are in LA now. You start talking championship. They already have unrealistic expectations in LA that their team should win all the time. They're a storied franchise, rightfully so. But be careful, man, when you start throwing around this, you know what I mean? Our goal is to win the championship. Our goal is to win the championship. Chatter, because it ain't just chatter in LA. It ain't just chatter in LA, bro. They internalize it, and they're going to hold you to it. They're going to hold you accountable for the predictions that you make and for the boldness that you take. And I applaud you for being bold enough to speak the goal out loud. Just be careful on how you frame it. So I'll catch you guys in the next episode, man. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.